Welcome into the Buccaneers Mock Draft. Casey Phillips here with staff writer Carmen Vitali. Every week we do one of these videos highlighting the alternating round one mock drafts that she and Scott Smith are doing. And of course, just like we've had each week, and just like seems to happen in the draft every year, those quarterbacks, they just keep arising. They keep going, which is great news for the Buccaneers and all the non-quarterback needy teams out there. And it looks like in your first picks 1 through 8, you have 5 of them going in the first 6 picks.
Yeah, in the first 6 picks, I took that whole quarterbacks rise thing pretty seriously. But I mean, as with anything, quarterbacks are a finite resource. And when you have a finite resource and you have the opportunity to get that resource, those opportunities become overvalued. And so you see these teams moving up to get these quarterbacks and then teams taking those deals because they're pretty sweet deals. And if you don't need a quarterback to trade out of those higher spots, it'll be interesting. Right now, I have quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4, which has never happened in the NFL draft. And I actually have Atlanta. Atlanta is going to be a very interesting one to watch here because they hold that 4th spot, but they could also go quarterback. And I have them doing that to get Matt Ryan's kind of heir. But at the same time, that's a very, very valuable pick for a lot of other quarterback needy teams. So they could just as easily trade out there. But I'm buying into the whole Mac Jones hype around San Francisco, just because I've seen a lot of comps for Mac Jones to Matt Ryan, actually. And Kyle Shanahan was his offensive coordinator in Atlanta. So I'm thinking that kind of makes sense from everything that I've heard, which pushes, some other guys down the board. And when Justin Fields is sitting right there, Atlanta kind of feels like they have to snatch him up. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that all plays out and potentially historic.
Yeah, and I see that unfortunately you got a division rival getting the draft darling of this whole process, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thrilled about that. There's a chance that Detroit could maybe even take him. I had Detroit taking Jamar Chase, also a very, very good offensive weapon. But yeah, Kyle Pitts, you're right, is like the draft darling of this year, and not thrilled that he's going to a Panthers offense that this Bucs team is obviously going to have to face twice a year. But so is life.
Yeah, so is life. All right, next grouping of picks, 9 to 16. I see that you got a bit of a run on corners here. Just overall, you got a lot of people focused on coverage. You got the corners. You got Micah Parsons. Tell me about this coverage run you have here.
Yeah, I think this is really just a sneaky good corner draft. I think you're going to see quite a few corners go in this first round. But yeah, Micah Parsons, coverage linebacker, he is just really impressive. He really impressed at his pro day at Penn State. He ran a 4.3940, which, to give you some context, Devin White ran a 4.41. And we just obviously think that Devin White is the fastest, most wonderful coverage linebacker we've seen in recent memory. But Micah Parsons, he's 6'3", 246 pounds. So he's a little bit bigger than Devin White. And he's still running that fast. So the Patriots get a special dude. And I think that Bill Belichick will know exactly what to do with him in that defense.
All right, now pick 17 to 24. You have a trade here, which I think this is one of the later trades between yours and Scott's mock drafts that I've seen so far.
Yeah, you get the Heisman winner kind of falling here. And Kansas City sees that. And as much as Kansas City needs offensive tackles because they got rid of both of theirs, they can always use some more weapons, and they do need at least another receiver in this draft at some point. It's pretty scary to think of Devontae Smith going to Kansas City, where he would be paired with guys like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, have Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, and Andy Reid, offensive guru, as his head coach. Yeah, that would definitely kind of fortify the Chiefs' offense and really make them scary. Not that they're not already scary, but as we've seen, but I think it would make them even more scarier going into this next year.
That is true. All right, so final grouping of picks here, 25 to 32, which of course includes the Buccaneers pick. And I know there have been a couple mock drafts where you and Scott have had Etienne getting picked by the Buccaneers. And here in this one, you have him getting scooped up right before the Bucs pick. How did that influence what you had the Buccaneers doing?
Yeah, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment or something. I don't really know, but that trade that Kansas City made with the Dolphins moves the Dolphins down to 31. And so they have a running back need there, and they take Travis Etienne right before the Bucs have a chance to grab him. But I don't think that Gregory Rousseau, who I have the Bucs taking, is a consolation prize at all. This guy is 6'7", 265. he's been spending the last, however many months training for the NFL draft because he actually opted out last year. His last season that he played for Miami, he was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He led the ACC with 15 and a half sacks, 19 and a half tackles for loss. He's a big dude, and he can play both inside and outside. I think a lot of the narrative around him is that he'd fit at a 4-3 or in a 4-3 system within the NFL. But I kind of likened him to Calais Campbell in a prospect primer review I did. And he was actually bigger than Calais Campbell was coming out of Miami. They're both Miami products. And now you see Calais Campbell being really, really effective inside, as well as how effective he was on the outside. So I think he'd just be a very interesting piece to add to this defensive line in Gregory Rousseau, and see what, Todd Bowles could do with him.
Yeah, I think anybody hearing that someone getting compared in any way, shape, or form to Calais Campbell could be a Bucs pick at 32 would be pretty dang happy about that. So, all right, that's going to do it for us on this edition of Buccaneers Mock Draft. Again, stay tuned to Buccaneers.com for all the different mock drafts and pre-draft coverage by Carmen, Scott, and myself, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.